What would you do if the person you trusted most betrayed you in the place you felt safest? Daniel Carter stood in the glass-walled conference room, staring at the termination letter in his trembling hands, his wife's signature scrawled at the bottom like a blade through his heart. Emily, his wife of 8 years and his boss for 3, had fired him. The reason? Unauthorized job searching during company time. The irony burned. She'd been interviewing for a new role herself, in secret, while preaching loyalty to their team. Daniel had always believed in their shared dream. They'd built Horizon Innovations together, a boutique marketing firm that thrived on their synergy. Emily's charisma in the boardroom, his quiet grit behind the scenes. He was the strategist, crafting campaigns that won clients. She was the face, sealing deals with her dazzling smile. Their marriage and their company were intertwined, a delicate dance of love and ambition. But lately, the dance had faltered. Emily's late nights at the office, her guarded phone calls, the way she avoided his eyes at dinner, it all pointed to something he couldn't name. Now, standing in the empty conference room, the truth hit him. She'd been planning her exit, and he was collateral damage. The day started like any other. Daniel arrived at Horizon's sleek downtown office, coffee in hand, ready to finalize a pitch for a major client. He'd been restless lately, feeling stagnant in his role. Emily had been promoted to CEO 2 years ago, leaving him as head of strategy, but the title felt hollow. His ideas, once celebrated, were now met with curt nods or outright dismissal. So, he'd started browsing job boards, not because he wanted to leave, but because he needed to feel valued again. He'd sent a few resumes, always after hours, always discreetly, or so he thought. At 3 p.m., Emily called him into her office. Her face was a mask of professionalism, but her eyes were cold. "Daniel, we need to talk about your performance," she said, sliding the termination letter across her desk. He laughed at first, thinking it was a prank. But her silence, heavy and unyielding, told him otherwise. "You've been job hunting," she continued, her voice clipped. "It's a breach of trust. We can't have that here." He stared at her, the woman he'd vowed to love forever, now wielding her power like a weapon. "Emily, you know I'd never betray you or Horizon," he stammered. "This is our company." She looked away. "It's my company now." The walk back to his desk was a blur. Colleagues avoided his gaze, their whispers trailing him like shadows. He packed his belongings, a photo of him and Emily on their honeymoon, a stress ball from their first client win, and left the office that had been his second home. But the real blow came later that night, at their apartment. Emily hadn't come home. Exhausted and desperate for answers, Daniel opened her laptop, something he'd never done before. Her email was still logged in, and there it was, a chain of messages with a headhunter, confirming interviews with a rival firm. The dates overlapped with her accusations against him. She'd been planning to leave Horizon and him while framing his job search as disloyalty. The betrayal cut deeper than the firing. Daniel sat in the dark, the city's hum outside their window a cruel reminder of the life they'd built together. How had they come to this? He thought of their early days, when they'd stayed up late dreaming of Horizon, their hands brushing as they sketched ideas on napkins. He thought of her laugh, the way it used to light up a room. He wanted to hate her, but all he felt was a hollow ache. Then came the twist, a knock at the door. It was Sarah, their junior copywriter, her face pale and nervous. "Daniel, I need to tell you something," she said, stepping inside. She'd overheard Emily's conversation with the headhunter weeks ago, in the office after hours. Sarah had kept quiet, afraid of losing her job, but seeing Daniel fired pushed her to act. "She's not just leaving Horizon," Sarah whispered. "She's trying to sell it to the rival firm. She's been leaking our client list." Daniel's heart sank. This wasn't just personal betrayal, it was sabotage. Emily wasn't just abandoning him, she was dismantling everything they'd built. The revelation shifted something in Daniel. He could wallow in pain, or he could fight for what was his. Horizon wasn't just Emily's company, it was his too. He spent the next week digging, using his old access to company servers before Emily could lock him out. He found emails, contracts, proof of her negotiations with the rival firm. But more than that, he found himself. The man who'd once poured his soul into Horizon was still there, buried under doubt and heartbreak. Daniel contacted Horizon's board, presenting the evidence. The board, shocked by Emily's actions, halted her plans and offered Daniel a chance to buy her out. It was a long show to need investors, loans, everything he had, but he said yes. He wasn't just fighting for the company, he was fighting for his dignity. The process was grueling. Late nights, endless calls, moments of doubt where he wondered if he was chasing a ghost. But Sarah stayed by his side, her guilt turning into fierce loyalty. She wasn't just a colleague, she became a friend, reminding him of the team he'd inspired, the people who believed in him. Months later, Daniel stood in the same conference room where he'd been fired. Horizon was his now, rebranded as Carter Creative. The glass walls gleamed under new lighting, and his team buzzed with energy. Emily had taken the rival firm's offer, leaving the city without a goodbye. Daniel heard she was thriving, her ambition unchecked, but he didn't care. He'd stopped looking for her in every empty room. The final twist came in a letter, slipped under his office door one morning. It was from Emily, handwritten, the first personal thing she'd done in months. "I'm sorry," it began. She wrote of her fear, her need to prove herself beyond Horizon, beyond him. She admitted to her hypocrisy, her shame in firing him to cover her own tracks. "You were always the better half of us," she wrote. "I hope you find what I couldn't." Daniel read it once, then tucked it away. He didn't need her apology to move forward, but it reminded him of a truth he'd forgotten: forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about letting go. Carter Creative grew, not because of flashy deals or ruthless ambition, but because of trust. Daniel led with honesty, valuing his team, listening to their ideas, celebrating their wins. He'd lost a wife, a partner, but he'd gained something more: himself. The company wasn't just a business, it was a testament to resilience, to the human capacity to rebuild from ashes. As he stood at the window, watching the city pulse below, Daniel thought of that first question: what would you do if the person you trusted most betrayed you? He'd answered it, not with revenge or bitterness, but with courage. He'd lost Emily, but he'd found a purpose greater than their shared dream, a dream of his own, built on integrity, not betrayal. And in that, he found peace.